This now brings us to the last session for the evening, which is the agro and food processing. We have as our moderator Mr. Manoj Paul. Mr. Manoj Paul is the Director and General Manager of Heat and Control South Asia and Director Flavorite Technologies Private Limited. He started his stint with Heat and Control as a country manager for India and South Asia. Heat and Control today is one of the leading suppliers of food processing and packaging machinery in India and South Asian region. He holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from Mysore University and a postgraduate in foreign trade from the Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, New Delhi. Manoj is also the vice president for Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, Tamil Nadu region. Manoj, I welcome you to introduce your co-panelists.
Thank you very much. Hello. Good evening. I'm sure it's been a long day since morning. We had the inaugural and we had several sessions. But I think food processing is always an interesting session. Food brings positive emotions in people, so I think it will be a good session. Let me first introduce my co-panelists. Today we have a good panel. Dr. PVSM Gauri, Executive Director and CEO, Association of Organic Industry, New Delhi. Organic food is getting more and more popular in India, and she's a professional with 25 years of experience spanning corporate, academic, and regulatory sectors. She's presently working as technical advisor, Sumiter Organics Private Limited, also being a vice president, Food and Organics, Round Glass. Round Glass is a socially conscious global firm.
They were my previous experiences.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay, so we're just giving you a brief of your previous experience to people. Okay. Worked for the intervention program for pediatricians for creating awareness in child obesity and its effects. She's been an advisor for APIDA, National Accreditation Body in NAB. She served as a faculty on organic agriculture in Indira Gandhi National Open University, also known as IGNO. She holds a PhD in life sciences and postdoctorate in tissue culture. Please welcome Dr. Gauri to this event. Thank you. Bob Yor. Bob Yor is the president of Association of Food Industries. I would like to thank him, very special thanks to him, because he's come all the way from US only for this event. AFI is an international trade association which fosters international trade in food products. The association has approximately 1,000 members, companies throughout the world. Bob served as the president of AFI since January 2002. Prior to that, he served as vice president of the organization for 6 years. In 2005, he was appointed to the Agricultural Technical Advisory Committee for Trade in Processed Food. He's also served on the task force that developed the food safety, preventive controls, and alliance scores with a curriculum recognized by FDI to teach food industry about the requirements of foreign supplier verification program and provisions of Food Safety Modernization Act before joining AFI. So Burr was a journalist. So he has wide experience, and I take great pleasure in welcoming him to this event. The other guest we have is Mr. Ajit Matai, founder of My Biome. Mbiome, okay, I'm sorry, trying to figure out how to spell it. Mbiome Consulting and Management Services. Ajit Matai is the founder of Mbiome Consulting and Management Services, which is the business of in the business of sustainable transformational consulting. Ajit is an industrial engineer and management graduate from the National Institute of Technology, NIT Trichy, and XLRI Jamshedpur, respectively. He is an NIT Golden Jubilee Distinguished Alumnus Awardee. His PhD pursuit is action research embodied in Embryon Saga. From cutting-edge biotechnology to founding India's first organic farming association, he has spent 10 years in the hills of Kodaikanal, enjoying the privilege of parenting and building a familial network of sustainable farmers. Ajit works on alternative economic model, which is built on the strength of local self-governance and economics of abundance. Ajit has created Embryon to lead out of this vision. Embryon, once again, the paradoxical profit entity built for socio-economic sustainable transformation. I welcome you to this event. Thank you. We have with us Mr. K. Balasubramaniam. He's a proud recipient of the following awards. Outstanding Alumni Award from APJ Abdul Kalam, former President of India. Lifetime Achievement Award from Mahalingam College of Engineering and Savita University. He's also the President of Tamil Nadu Chamber of Nippon Trade and Industry, TANITI. He has taken many delegates to study the collaborate with SMEs of Japan. He has authored 3 books on the Japanese technique of 5 years for the benefit of MSME. As a chairman, MSME Committee for Southern India Chamber of Commerce and Industries, SICI, Madras Chamber of Commerce and Industry, MCCI, Secretary, SIPCOT, Irungattukotte, Industrial Estate Manufacturers Association, SEMA, Secretary, Chennai District Small Industries Association, conducted many programs for the benefit of MSME. He is the Managing Director of Global Coconut Farmer Producer Company, an FPO, formed by 1,200 farmers who have developed coconut flower nectar, a natural drink with no preservatives added, no coloring agent, no added sugar, which is being exported to USA. And I'm sure you people have visited his stall, their stall there, and it's a really interesting project to support the farmers. I thank him for joining the panel. Since independence, agriculture and allied sector is the major backbone of India. And it is the key source of livelihood for more than 50% of India even today. So 50% of India is still surviving on agricultural income. So it's the biggest employer we can call. After meeting the food security requirements, agriculture sector has also transformed into one of the nation's big merchandise exporter. In 2022, India exported products worth US $42 billion, contributing to about 13% of the merchandise exports. Though India is the second largest producer of fruits and vegetables in India on the world, the export competitiveness still remains low. And we have always seen during the season, a lot of fruits and vegetables are wasted because lack of storage facilities and further processing facilities. Food processing industry is one of those industries that is not very capital intensive and has been growing at a double-digit growth for over 10 years. The main reasons for this double-digit growth are growing young population, rising middle class, rising disposable income, increased women participation in workforce, growing e-commerce sales, and consumer preference for packaged food products post-pandemic. India's food processing sector is considered as a sunrise sector and has gained prominence in the recent years. Export of food processing products have reached record levels in 2022 and are expected to go further. Many foreign companies have invested in India to take advantage of supply of good agricultural products and low-cost processing facilities. So brief about the current situation of the industry, and I would request Bob Buer to give us a presentation on what are the challenges for exporters to US for food products. And Bob here is an expert in this area, and we will have a look at his presentation.
Okay, thank you, Manoj. Evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Some folks who I work with said, you're going to India for one day, basically. And it's what we do. It's important. I love the fact that our countries are working together, and the industry, we all need to work together, because we don't like anything bad with imports. We don't care where it comes from, because if it's from another country, it still impacts you trying to get your product to the United States. So we're more than willing to travel the world, share advice, and that sort of thing, because that's what AFI is. We're the trade association for the U.S. food import industry. I got introduced a while back as one of the founders, but AFI was around since 1906. I'm not quite that old. We set product standards. We work with Food and Drug Administration, which I'll call FDA going forward, and we help the industry on quite a number of products. I have a very limited time. I purposely included a lot more slides than I can actually go into. The slides I could talk about, that I'm showing, I could probably talk for 6 to 8 hours about. All right, but I just wanted you to have that information. And so I know they're going to be shared with you going forward. So don't get upset with me as I skip through slides, because no option really for you. I got a plane to catch tonight. So really, it's all about food safety. That's what the talk is in the United States. So if I'm going to buy from you, the very first thing I need to know is everything about what goes on in your facility. I need to know the ingredients, even if I'm not buying, anything, because it could be something like allergen cross-contact in there. And I'm responsible for the safety of food if I'm the U.S. importer. And the only way I can do that is to know exactly what's in your facility. So we'll have a little bit more on that as we go through. So this Food Safety Modernization Act, that's the FSMA, and that was passed about 7 or 8 years ago, and it's in full implementation right now. And now those are what the slides are going to refer to, and what I'm going to be touching on, but again from like a 30,000-foot level, as opposed to going into detail. And then we'll get into, at the end, some current customer issues. I'll get to them briefly right now. Actually, documentation. If it's not written down, it didn't happen. So basically, what this FSMA and for the importer, FSVP, means, FDA was going to come to inspect me as an importer about an entry I made 6 weeks, 2 months ago. And I had to be able to show them documentation that I knew when that food came here that it was safe. So I need lot-by-lot records from you, in addition to your overall food safety plan. And it's not HACCP unless you're talking about juice or seafood. So I was just talking to somebody who has one product that's going to be covered by the HACCP regulation. 2 other products he mentioned will not. So you have to be familiar with what regulations apply to your product as well. But basically, again, if it's not written down, it didn't happen. And I need that on an ongoing basis if I'm going to do business with you. Supplier approval is another thing I'll touch on real quickly, too. Let's say I'm not an importer. Let's say I was, and I met somebody here today, and I want to buy from you. Well, I have to go through a supplier approval process, and that involves reviewing your food safety plan and making my assessment based on that, and providing documentation that I went through this approval process and I approved you for each and every product that I bring in from you. And it's causing some trade issues, because one of the services that we have is an arbitration service. And there was one about a year ago, and the U.S. customer wouldn't accept delivery because the foreign supplier didn't provide the needed information to approve them. They didn't want to take a chance buying from unapproved foreign suppliers. So there's some things up front that you have to do And basically, it's providing everything that's going on in your facility, essentially. So I put in bold the two rules of FSMA that pertain to us. The first one is for producers, whether in the United States or anywhere else. And then the second one is the FSVP program. And that's for an importer in the United States. And essentially, they have to verify that you are following and meeting the requirements of the human food rule. Okay? And this is where I'm going to focus on this slide and then zip through a bunch of others because they go into more detail on what this is. But I love the fact that this is in a circle. And I took this right from the FDA, right? Your preventive control plan has to start with a hazard analysis. You have to identify the known and reasonably foreseeable hazards in the food you produce. Because without that, how can you prevent, unless you know what it is that's out there? So it starts with that, then you put preventive controls in place to address those hazards. Then you have monitoring procedures, which is usually some sort of temperature control records, just equipment checkups, things along those lines. Making sure the preventive controls are being carried out and they're effective. Corrective actions, if there's a risk of listeria with your product, you know from day one, all right, it might happen, and if it does, this is the corrective action we're going to take, and that's part of your plan. If it's something that happens down the road that you couldn't foresee, then you create a corrective action to address it. Verification could have a slash validation next to it. Are the methods still what the industry norm is? Is the equipment being validated and verified to make sure it's giving correct readings, things along those lines, and then record keeping. And we knew from day one that was going to be the biggest issue. A lot of it's out there, but it may not be written and shared well enough, but it's got to be. Okay. So here I'm going to skip through a lot of these slides, and you'll have them, and you also have my contact information because the last slide is going to be my contact information, and you can request the deck from me as well. So I do want to go through a lot of this because this is something that's new, the recall plan with FSMA. Again, whether it's in the United States or anywhere else, a company producing food has to have a recall plan. And a while back, that was an issue, particularly for smaller suppliers. But the technology is there now where it's affordable, and you have to have a lot code system and something in place to be able to recall a product. Because otherwise, if something were to happen, you're going to have to bring everything back in. And you'll find that people aren't going to want to buy from you if you don't have things along those lines. This isn't something you produce once and just put on the shelf. It's an ongoing, it's basically a daily reanalysis, but you go through a formal one every 3 years just to make sure that everything is good. Here's the records you need. And this is if FDA comes to see you, okay, which could happen. A written food safety plan, then records to document monitoring of that plan, corrective actions, any that are taken, verification, validation. So it's all that circle stuff. And then the records to show that people carrying this out are qualified to do so. There's a phrase called, I'm going to go back to this PCQI, Preventive Control Qualified Individual. So every facility producing food needs a PCQI. And it's somebody who has the education, training, or experience, or a combination thereof, to perform the duties that they're carrying out in the facility. And so if somebody just gets out of college and it's a business degree and they get into a food safety thing, that's not going to be good enough. If they come out with a food science degree, then they could probably meet the PCQI definition pretty easily. There's PCQI training through this Food Safety Preventive Controls Alliance. So you just Google that. It's offered in all kinds of languages, in person, hybrid, and online. The pricing varies. Don't buy based on price. You want to be comfortable with the instructor. and that sort of thing. But I strongly recommend you have at least 2 people take that course. The FSPCA course, I was on the one for FSVP. FDA personnel were on that task force as well. And FDA's lawyers reviewed everything we put together, page by page. So it's not an FDA document, and but taking that course is the best way to understand that regulation. And that's why I strongly recommend you have at least 2 people take it, because if one takes it and they leave, now you no longer have someone that perhaps meets the definition. Or if that person's on family leave or on holiday, who's going to talk to FDA? So it's always good to have at least 2. All right. What's your U.S. customer need from you? I underline the items that I think they're going to get from you. And I've seen this happen in real life. So, but I need all of this. If I'm buying from you, I need all of these records. And I'm going to come and I'm going to want to see your hazard analysis. Because if you don't give me yours, I have to do mine. And if I have to create my own, I still have to make sure it matches what yours is, because I have to be monitoring what's going on in your facility. So the easiest way to do that is for you to give me your hazard analysis, which becomes part of your food safety plan. Again, unless you're talking juice or seafood, don't refer to it as a HACCP plan, because you want to speak FDA's language. It's preventive controls. All right? It's almost the same, but preventive controls takes it a step further. And so you want to speak their language. So all those underlying components are part of your preventive controls plan. It's that circle again, right? Hazard analysis, risk posed by the food, the preventive controls that you're going to implement, and then documentation to show that they're being carried out, and any records, that sort of thing. So FDA's got to come and ask me for all this stuff if I'm a U.S. importer. And the underlying things are the items that they're going to get from you. Okay. Do you need a DUNS number? Yes. All right. First, the importer needed it. And there's 2 numbers. I skipped over the registration slide. There's an FDA registration number. Each facility that's shipping anything to the United States needs to have an FDA registration number. For some reason, which I can't get a good answer from FDA, you also need a DUNS number. Dun and Bradstreet is where DUNS comes from. And beginning, as of January 1st of this year, you couldn't even ship products to the United States unless you had a DUNS number. It's also specific to a location, and it's free to get one, so no expense involved there. But before you ship to the United States, you want to make sure you have an FDA registration number and a DUNS number. The facility registration number with FDA, by the way, the U.S. entity needs it too, who's producing food. The only difference is a foreign facility needs to name someone in the United States to be their facility registration agent. And there's people that really try to scare you about that. It's the easiest part of compliance that's out there. You're basically just telling FDA, here's where we're located, and here's what we have in this facility. And it gets renewed every 2 years. But they want someone in the United States to help facilitate communication. And we serve as the facility registration agent for any company that's a member of our organization. We're willing to do it. There's other companies that do it. They charge a lot more. And one in particular really tries to scare you. If you're already registered and you get a scary email, reach out to whoever is your agent and say, they're telling me that my registration may not be valid. Can you confirm that it is? And you're good to go. Don't spend any more money on facility registration than you have to. So just quickly, I want to talk a little bit about commercial reality versus regulatory reality. Your relationships with your U.S. counterparts, it's more important than ever right now. Because as you see, I'm going to be asking you for a lot more than I might have, and I saw it happen, companies doing business for 40 years, and now all of a sudden the U.S. entity's asking for all these food safety records and everything. People were insulted. and you can't be insulted. You have no choice, and you want to keep in mind, too, the EU's regulations are pretty similar. Other countries you want to ship to, the regs are pretty similar. So it might just be packaged a little bit different, which leads into also maybe I interpret it a different way than another one of your customers does. So you may have to tweak things a little bit. Maybe I want more, or maybe that other customer wants more proof, or what have you. So there's going to be more communication that's needed. And if you're doing something along the lines of a refrigerated product, you're going to have to be prepared to show not only what happens in your facility, but the transportation company. Because as the importer, until it leaves my possession in the U.S., I have to have all those records to make sure it was kept at the appropriate temperature. So you're going to have to bring in your transportation providers, warehouses, and the like to make sure that they know. So you really have to talk a lot. And you want to be careful, too. It's a two-way street. You know, so you want to have a dialogue with somebody. I was at a show last year, and thankfully this gentleman stopped by my booth because he was being taken advantage of by a broker for a very large entity in the United States. And I said, do not sign that contract. All right, you want to have protections in there for yourself, such as arbitration or something, to ensure that you're protected as well as them. It's not just about your customer, whether it's in the United States or anywhere else. Couple of opportunities for you to meet a lot of U.S. importers. First one is Anuga. That's a trade show that comes up in Germany in October, and then next year there's one in Paris called Cial. Huge trade shows. Definitely recommend you do that. If you happen to go, on the second night of each of those shows, we hold a reception that's free. We'll reach out to the folks that have paid it to make sure they invite everybody. Relaxed setting, get to meet some importers. Some might go to the fancy food show. There's one in New York in June, one in Las Vegas, typically in January. Very good show for new products, and the entire industry goes. And then Expo West is another one, Natural Products Expo West in Anaheim in March. Another good trade show to see what's happening in the United States, make a lot of contacts. The one I'm showing is our annual conference next year. If you wanted to be in the same room for a few days with U.S. importers of all kinds of products, we're going to be in Morocco, so it's not as far away as going to the U.S. May 2nd to 4th. We'll have a lot of details on that coming soon. So here is my contact information. Again, I don't want to go over any time. I'll leave time for Q&A and for the rest of my panel members to talk. Feel free to reach out. Again, whether it's just that you want to copy the slides or if you have any questions, more than happy to answer and help out. It's been my pleasure to be with you today, and I look forward to the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. I think that was quite a interesting presentation. But like he mentioned, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There is a lot more details, but you can feel free to contact him. Also, we can take a few questions at the end of the session. Ajit also works with FAME, and he's advising them on their agro and food processing policies. So he's going to give us a presentation on what are the incentives or initiatives by the Tamil Nadu government. And that'd be very interesting because many times we realize that we don't know what benefits we can get by running a food processing company in India. Thank you.
Yeah. While I wait for the presentation to come on, thank you, Manoj, for this opportunity, IACC for this opportunity to be here. On the panel, there are a number of people which are in many ways connected to what I've done, what I'm doing today, and what I've done in the past. So with Bob, I'm going to be constantly referring through my presentation. I'm not seeing my presentation. Incidentally, I have an entire team from FAME TN. May I just request them to stand up? They've been involved with agriculture in every aspect. So just a correction, Manoj, FAME-TN is involved in not just in food processing, that's my area of interest, agriculture is my area of interest, but we are actually supporting Tamil Nadu MSMEs across sectors. So whether it's aeronautics to fisheries to anything comes under our ambit. But my background, though I'm an engineer and a management graduate, I have been a fairly checkered career, been in biotechnology, 10 years on the ground running organic farms, started the first organic farming movement in India called biodynamic agriculture. Been very closely involved in coconut. And let me tell you what Mr. Balasubramaniam has done here, cocoa nectar. You don't know how difficult to create a packet of Neera is. I worked with the Kerala government, worked with FPO with 20,000 farmers. We have Alpha Laval equipment scattered right through Kerala, not being used. To produce this successfully, Balasubramaniam, this is truly remarkable. My compliments to you. So yes, I've been very closely involved with the coconut sector, Koya especially. Was actually 2 weeks ago in Kangayam on coconut, Pollachi. I know Tirupur, I know these areas very, very well. So let me just take you through what Tamil Nadu is doing for you. I think it is important for a moment to focus on FAME-TN, the name itself. It was earlier called the MSME department, but that was not good enough. So what is FAME-TN? Facilitating MSME. Okay, so till 1.5 years ago, MSME was a conventional department. You came to it for subsidies, you came for it, you keep it pleased so that they don't come after you and create trouble for you. But there is an entire mindset that we are working on. It's work in progress, but I know we are making very, very significant progress. The mindset in FAME-TN is to facilitate and support MSMEs. And I think we are going in the right direction. I would like to celebrate FAME-TN by saying that I think on any national level program across India, the Government of India refers to FAME-TN's program as the model to be replicated. So I think you are, all of you who are pursuing this business in Tamil Nadu and MSME, agribusiness is very often as an MSME. I think you are in hands that are going to evolve. We need to work very, very closely with you. These are some of the initiatives that we have led out, whether the clear focus on Industry 4.0, there's a slide on 5.0 I'll talk about, buyer-seller meets, e-commerce, financial workshops, quality control. I think Bob talked a lot about quality control. Bob, the Tamil Nadu government would like to partner you and to make sure that we are able to offer those standards that our suppliers would have to achieve. I don't expect our MSMEs to support it. It's the job of FAME-TN to facilitate our producers to be able to export to USA. So I do hope we will see significant partnership with your organization. Export workshops. Yep. So we spent 1.5 years under wraps, setting processes within. But those of you who may be following us, and going forward, you will not be able to ignore us because we're going to be really in your face, whether it's social media or otherwise. We are moving into becoming very, very visible in our outreach. We have teams traveling to Germany, Netherlands, recently to Singapore, to facilitate businesses for you. We will open our offices, desks in all these countries to help support your business. Are you looking for incentives? Don't come to us for incentives. We do have incentives, but this comes from a generation of MSME that we do not belong to anymore. We are here to facilitate and help you grow profitably. And what is it that we can do to it? But having said that, there are certain programs. These have been compiled. There's manuals. My colleagues will actually help you give it. It's online. So any scheme, any program that is there, it has been compiled, is available right now for MSME. Food processing, I will come to very, very shortly. But these are the subsidies. What I want to mention to this audience here is that Tamil Nadu does not have a dedicated policy or a support system for food processing. And this is becoming extremely important that we do. And therefore, we would like to partner with all of you in making this happen. And I tell you why, what has changed. This is a change that actually is happening right now. All of you know that the agriculture department was leading agriculture, leading trade, leading everything about agriculture. However, the focus of agriculture is in, like our TNAUs, outstanding universities. They're focusing on productivity, they're focusing on improved cattle breeds, so on and so forth. They're not involved in the business of food and not involved in the business of MSMEs. This is something that the Tamil Nadu government has recognized, and you will see there are two parts to how literally this year, with the announcement of, with the Agri Minister, the 1,000 crore program, the Agro corridor program, this program, which some of my colleagues are leading out, is going to be very, very different from what Tamil Nadu has done so far. What we have here is, this part is going to be done by the Agri department. They're very, very good at it. They continue to do it. But we've taken away this part and said that this would be a part of the MSME department. How do we support you to grow your businesses in it? This is a new space. We have to develop it together. Okay, I think this slide is very important when from a supply chain point of view. The next slide, please. Yeah. I think this is the opportunity that Bob was talking about. You just look at some of the numbers that we have highlighted. India is nowhere near even contributing a fraction to any of these export opportunities that are there. It's a market that must begin to explode. But to do this, we must get a couple of things right. The least of it is to make sure that what we export meets Bob's requirement, and therefore the partnership with Bob and his organization, which we must do. But this is really the opportunity that we have before us, cutting across whether it's grains, F&B, animal produce, all this is just open to us for Tamil Nadu to make it happen. What is it that Tamil Nadu needs to do to help you achieve this? Next slide, please. Well, what is the key takeaway? Can you just go back? Yep. The asymmetry that is there between supply and demand, that, you know, the MSMEs will be predominantly the people who will have to step in to fill these gaps. Yes, you do have some large houses that are into food. We know there are large houses. But if you look at a country like Netherlands or Israel, there are family businesses that are actually filling the gap here. And it is going to be the case here in Tamil Nadu as well. Next one. So what is the type of support that is required? There's a requirement of finance, infrastructure, quality control, supply chain support, and domestic and export markets. We have narrowed down for our focus in the first year on two areas, that is the marketing and working capital finance. No one wants to lend to the MSME, least of all to the food industry. How do we make sure that we get finance available for you, especially for working capital finance? Your capital finance you will get supported, but working capital is invariably very difficult especially for the food industry. So how can we are developing multiple schemes, multiple engagements. We are assuring a bank if there are NPAs on your MSME industries, the government will cover the bank. So there is a significant amount of support that is coming in form of credit guarantee, TN trades, etc., that is coming into play. You'll hear a lot more of it as we're going forward. What we need to do to be able to supply and to supply consistently we need to create, we need to sustain, and we need to replicate. What does it mean? One of the biggest issues, and we've been studying the Agri corridor, I have a quick case study on it, is that industry cannot come in because they do not have the reliability of supply. This is something that the government has to try and fix for you. Only if we are giving you the guarantee of supply can industry come up and process it and value add into it. So before we actually invite a large number of industries to participate, we need to get this act together. And this is what I call protocol-based sustainable agriculture. That it's predictable, we know what we can achieve through this. Next slide, please. This is the slide that we aspire to do. It is a Society 5.0. How do we ensure that in a time when there is climate change, there are all sorts of issues that we are facing, our work, my case studies on the Agri corridor in the Delta districts, how do we still ensure that the produce that you make in spite of droughts and floods, it is predictable, it's sustainable, you are able to supply food industry guaranteed quality in the quantities that you want. It's a problem with organic farming, it's a problem in most industries. So there are various interventions that need to actually happen. The key of it is the hub and spoke model. May I have the next slide, please? Yep. You would have heard the minister announce the Agro corridor program. It's a 1,000 crore program. We are starting with the 5 Delta districts south of the Kaveri, Kolidam. The 5 districts will lead north, so westward and southward to become a crescent from Nilgiris to Coimbatore to Salem to the Delta districts, moving back along the crescent into Madurai, into Theni, into the southern districts. So we are actually looking at a crescent. We are starting halfway in the crescent, looking at the Delta districts. These are, the most fertile districts, but they are also the most backward districts for us. We are looking at a turnaround here. So this was our program of what we were meant to do. So our model is going to be about aggregation and being able to bring in working capital finance to take it through. One of the things that we're doing is actually creating virtual pavilions for MSMEs and companies to be visible so that they can engage with customers internationally and domestically. Yep. So this is the district. We are moving westward up to Coimbatore and downward into the southern districts. This is the areas that we are going through are these 5 areas, paddy being a key crop in the Delta districts, but FNV, animal husbandry, fish, other sectors, all these sectors, Bob, require your support. And we need to be working with you to actually achieve this. Next slide. Yep. How are we going to do it? We benchmarked across from Africa to Indonesia, we covered. We could pick up 1 or 2 examples like Amul. Why isn't the cooperative model working? Why do we have only one model of Amul that we can really celebrate of? So what we are doing is something really different in Tamil Nadu. We are saying that there are 3 levels. So the primary producer is what the farmer can do. The failure of FPOs is that, and I hope, Mr. Balasubramaniam, you don't actually get into it. What you're good at is this level. You can process it. But running a NIRA plant is perhaps not the competence of a farmer. Maybe Coimbatore, you're lucky because you have a very strong industry background. You may be able to run it well. Tirupur also. But in most cases, FPOs fail at the 2nd level itself. The 3rd level, you create an outstanding product, you don't know how to sell it. Okay? So what we are doing is we are creating a platform cooperative ecosystem, recognizing what an FPO can do best. We are inviting partners to come in to actually partner with on a virtual platform. We bring them all onto a FameTN virtual platform, which will actually help a farmer group like Balasubramaniam's 1,200 farmers get the technology in, help them market it. And these 2 could be actually outsourced services, could be a Bob coming in to help them take it to the US, and so on and so forth. So this is a model that we are looking at and replicating it. There was a slide that we create, replicate, and just keep it continuously growing. So we'll start in those districts, we'll take it forward. Yeah, this is what we are doing, moving from the typical procurement model to saying that can we get farmers to own the product like Balasubramaniam FPO, taking it up, farmer ownership, aggregation for business, efficient management of hubs, which is normally not the farmer's strengths. How do we manage hubs? And how do we get into value chain financing? Today, I started by saying we don't want to give you subsidies. We want to make sure that you get commercial money for commercial businesses that are profitable. We have to make, there's plenty of money available. The banks know this sector is worth lending to, but they can't give it because there is no mechanism for it. So our whole process of value chain financing is about getting banks to bring commercial money to you to actually deliver it. Yep. And that's what we call the platform cooperative. So this is the Agro Corridor project. So it's a fairly detailed project. We're happy to discuss this with all of you. Tamil Nadu means business. We want to partner with you. Agri is the heart of what we want to do. We need to work with all of you to make. We don't know. We need to work with you to evolve strategies, policies. We are all here to listen to you. Next slide. Yeah. So if there is anything, my colleague Dhruv sets out just a hop, step, and jump across the railway line. Is where Sitco building is where our team sits. I am available. I specialize in agriculture, and I would really like to see this business grow. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks, Ajit. That was an excellent presentation. I'm sure a lot of takeaways for all of us. I can vouch for one thing that FAME Tamil Nadu is successful in simplifying the process of establishing a project in Chennai, because we went through an expansion project, and in fact, the FAME people were chasing us saying, you know, did you get this approval? Did you submit that document? It was not the other way around. So I myself have experienced a huge change because we put up the original project in 2016, and the expansion happened last year, and we found there was a huge change. So thank you very much, FAME Tamil Nadu. And we had something called a Biz Buddy. I remember that, and my HR and admin used to go and look up that and see what's happening to our approvals, etc. Thank you very much. We have heard a view from overseas, what is needed to export products to the US. And like Bob said, there's a lot of things to be done. And he's given you his contact details. If you want to reach out to him, you can reach out to him. Indo-American Chamber is a member of this association. So if you people have any queries, you approach us. We in turn can reach out to Bob. And now Ajit is very keen to associate with him. So I think we have been able to bridge some countries, India and US, so that trade can grow. We're coming to another interesting aspect is organic farming. I think there's getting very, very popular. Organic products are getting very popular in the markets. And we have an expert today, Dr. Gauri. And Dr. Gauri will talk to us about organic farming and challenges of exports of organic products. Thank you.
At the outset, I would like to thank IACC for inviting us to this seminar on agro-food processing. And I represent the organic industry, and we are placed in New Delhi. And all organic stakeholders, right from the producers, exporters, domestic players, certification bodies, all are our members. And we work as an interface between the industry as well as from the regulators. And our main objectives for advocacy, market development, strengthening assurances of organic integrity, and capacity building for organic stakeholders in various fields of work, as our stakeholders are quite varied group. Now coming to to cater the organic industry, as Mr. Bob has been saying, skilled manpower is very, very essential. Capacity building is very essential. So AIO has taken this initiative of capacity building of at the industry level, at the certification body level, at the outreach level. So we are working on those lines, and we have been successful. We have, since 2 years, we have introduced a 40 years digital course in collaboration with Agriculture University. In running entrepreneurial development as well as for empowerment or employment in the organic industry. So those who are graduating, post-graduating, they can enroll themselves, which gives a generic requirement what the organic industry needs. I here again repeat, what Mr. Bob has said is the requirement even for organic industry people, because it's a quality requirement, the regulatory requirement, the assurance requirement. But in case of organic, above this, you require several other requirements which we have to comply with. And these requirements of compliance of our organic for export to US, it has been very successful. Since 2006, we had an understanding, because the standards of requirements differ at certain levels. So we have a confirmatory assessment program wherein our Indian side, they used to confirm the requirement of the NOP export organic requirements, and the certificates were accepted there. So the trade was quite smooth. But recently, I think this agreement is over. Now, certification bodies are directly linked to the accreditation bodies in US, resulting in, in delays. Why? Number one, because the number of certification bodies for US certification are not adequate, number one. Number two, delays the process because the traffic is so big that it is not being able to handle by only 5 to 6 people, because they have only satellite offices here. Otherwise, the accreditation is in Europe and other places, Europe and US. Japan and other countries. So these are the difficulties our industry is facing since 2021. Well, coming to the subject of interest, you all know organic was a niche market. Now it has become a main market globally. It is being produced without the use of any chemicals at the production level as well as the processing level. And even there are some do's and don'ts during the handling level. The entire chain of custody is being supervised under the surveillance of a third-party certification. That is, these requirements, of course, I'm again repeating, above the quality requirements which Mr. Bob has just described for export to US. Now the organic produce enjoys a premium in the market, both in the global market as well as the domestic market. The various studies have forecasted that the organic global market is $294 billion in 2023 at a compounded growth rate of 13.7%. And the studies predict that by the annual rate is at around 8.7%, and the overall food industry is expected to grow by 3.8% annually by 2027. So huge market, huge potential for all of us, for the importing as well as for the exporting countries. The Indian organic status, the Indian organic food covers the beverages, tea, coffee, and others, and is rapidly developing due to growing consumer demand, both domestically as by the importing countries. Our main markets are the Europe and US. US contributes to 54% of our exports, the rest in Europe, 36%, and the rest goes to the other South Asian countries. The growth is attributed to increase in consumer attention on healthy eating, new consumer-oriented products, wide availability across cities, and the new brand selling organic products. The organic food product covers poultry, because recently we have introduced the livestock standards for organic products. So it is now prevailing in the domestic market. poultry, dairy, a few players are presently there. Of course, organic fruits, vegetables, organic bread, bakery, beverages, they have got a very good market domestically, as well as we are exporting these products. Organic dairy products, fruits and vegetables maintains the highest growth potential in the Indian market. The Indian market is being estimated to be 1,278 million US dollars, a huge market for importing organic product as well as for exporting organic products. Unlike US, the organic food market is regulated in India. We have a food law which requires to be followed for importing organic products. At the same time, we need to follow the export requirement under the DGFT. Two ministries are involved. For import, it is the Food Safety Authority. For export, it is the Agriculture Processed Food Products Authority, which comes under the Ministry of Commerce. So these are the two regulatory bodies who are regulating the organic products in India as for import and as well as export. Now, in India, all organic products are required to be certified by a third-party certification, which is required for export, as well as in domestic, there is a participatory guarantee system that is only for the domestic market, as well as the third-party guarantee system, whichever the consumer as well as the operator chooses to have. It has been implemented under the National Program for Organic Production, and it is around 23 years old, which is being regulated. We have a trade agreement, equivalency agreement with Europe, wherein the organic commodities, agriculture commodities, certified under the National Standard Program is being accepted in the EU market. Not the processed variety, only the commodities. So the exporters who are into export of commodities, they do have one certificate as NPOP, which gets accepted in EU. But in case of export to US, the processed product, they need to have a dual certification, one for NPOP, one for the processing, and then one for the trading to the country of, to any country in EU, or as well as US. So this creates a constraint on the operator, because the operator has to undergo so many certification. Above this, the food safety regulations, the preventive measures to be measured, and so on, and delays in the process. So the main challenges nowadays, the exporters are, I'm just focusing on exporters, they are facing is that one is the cost, because they have to take many multiple certificates, apart from the quality parameter certificate of HACCP and 22,000, which are the food quality requirements, and then the NPOP certificate for export under a certification body, a third certification body, and then again an export certificate for the importing country. So there are only 5 to 6 certification bodies who are able to do it, but we have into 32 or 35 certification bodies who are accredited under NPOP. Of course, all requires to be at the same level of certification, but this is the issue which is now prevailing in our country. So what is required now to increase or strengthen the certification process is capacity building, and as well as the number 2 is increase the number of certification bodies under a very strict rule of compliance. I think this can be solved for both export as well as import from US to India, because we produce all varieties products throughout the seasons, because we have 20 agroclimatic conditions in our country, so climates in our country, so we can produce all varieties throughout the year, and different, of course, varieties, and we can produce all products, and so it's a huge market. We can export. We are already exporting 130 commodities to US and EU. Some are for the ethnic population, and some are for the value additions, which are again re-exported to India. We are importing some vegetables, exotic vegetables from US, but the traffic is small for import, and as well as export it is quite large. But this is the constraint we are facing. I really congratulate the Tamil Nadu model, which is very, very sustainable, and I think such models can be repeated in other states also. It's a wonderful model to specially support the SMEs. Because they are the people who will come into the supply chain, and the supply chain, to strengthen the supply chain, we need them to support, and this is the requirement all over India, because there are many graduates and educated people who are venturing into the agri-business, and there's so much of potential. We all need to harness that potential to make it a very good, successful business model. I think Mr. Bob, you will help us in connecting the trade between India organic exports with that of the US importers, because there are some issues which are in place but needs to be clarified for enhancing the trade between the two countries. Thank you so much for your patient hearing. And it's a very small sector. Organic is a very small sector in agro, but it is a very niche sector and very important sector, and very, very, demanding sector. So all the best to all of you who are into this business, and hope we will be able to go through this process and will be successful. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gauri, for giving us a brief on the organic industry, and also about the challenges that you are facing. I'm sure with the support of IACC and Mr. Bob, we will be able to resolve those challenges and exports can grow. Madam has come with a team of organic farmers who really need support so that they can get over these regulatory issues at this point of time and grow the exports. I'm sure this will happen. Thank you. It's not just good enough to create a product like cocoa nectar. We all know that it's a big challenge, and after creating such a product, it's a dream of every food producer to export to US market. Mr. Balasubramaniam has been successful, and he would like to share his experience. Let's hear from Mr. Balasubramaniam about this experience.
Thank you, Mr. Manoj, for giving us an opportunity. Dear friends, good evening. It is the end of the day. Always farmers will be given a last priority. Here also it is the same. Even though they give food for all, the priority is last. But just joking. I am standing before you on behalf of 1,200 farmers, coconut farmers from Tirupur district. I'm the managing director of the company. This is a farmer producer organization. It's a limited company where the farmers are only the shareholders. The farmers are only the directors. It is managed by the farmers, and the shares cannot be sold in the open market. So there is a protection the government has given. So this is not a corporate company. This is not an individual company. So what we do, like milk, how it is collected from the farmers. We are also collecting this Neera from every farm gate, coconut farm gate. And we do nothing, no processing at all. It is a wonder drink where we are preserving it very carefully hygienically, and finally, with an aseptic Tetra Pak, we are packing it. So more than 20 FPOs, Mr. Ajit has told already, have failed in commercializing this drink. We can able to do that and take it to America only because the lot of industrialists are behind this FPO. So we pump lot of money to make it happen. So that is the reason how I am standing before you and how this product has reached America. So this is a first product in India. Nobody else has made it. And this first product in the world. Why I am telling you, I have attended the Gulf Food Fair where I have seen more than 300 coconut product manufacturers around the world, from Philippines to Sri Lanka to Indonesia. No one has produced this drink. So I can proudly say that's why Government of India has given us an award as an innovative drink in the industry. Okay, what is the speciality of this drink? As I told you, this is only drink available 100% nature, untouched by hand. Even milk also sometimes it will have a hand touch. Here there is no touch at all. No preservatives, no added sugar. Believe me, when you go out, you can collect a packet of our drink free of cost. Please taste it. You cannot find this natural aroma with any other drink. Unmatched taste. This is a probiotic drink where it have lot of effect in your digestion, digestive system, strengthening your guts, so many things. And next to mother milk, this is the only drink with lauric acid. These are all the researches already done. High in zinc, iron, antioxidant, and amino acids. This is the only drink available in the world now as an alternate to the processed and machine-made drink, which we have already thoroughly checked and we have proved also. Now, more than 20 hospitals, they have taken drinks in Coimbatore, and we are very successful in putting it in Apollo, where 2,800 pharmacies now selling our drink. That is a success story. Now it is digitally marketed by Amazon, Zepto, Flipkart, Riotto vending machine. In all the metros you can see our drinks will be available in the vending machine. So not only it is a cool drink, it is a health drink. It is not at all falling in that segment. Please don't compare our drink with other fruity or any other maza. Everything is 10 to 15% maximum fruit pulp. Rest of the things are white sugar and water. And more than 10 types of chemicals. That you can see in the maza packet itself. They have given a caution. This contains stevia. That is a sweetening natural drink. The side effect of those things are so many. I cannot describe now. So I can say it is an energy drink. Why I am calling it as an energy drink? It is a 14% sugar. It's a nature sugar. It is not an added sugar. And I can call it as an immune booster. The reason being, it contains high amount of zinc. So in the corona period, you can only take the Zinkovi tablet mostly. So that zinc is available naturally in this drink. And we have tested with more than 100 families in our district. And those families who have regularly taken our drink, no one has affected by corona. That is the beauty of it, that we have checked. So doctors now advising, because of the therapeutic value, it can be taken for digestive problem. If there is having an anemic, because of the high amount of iron available, so children, pregnant ladies, old people can come out of the anemic problem. So Dr. V.S. Nadarajan, the Padma Shri, who is working for the old age people now in Chennai, he himself tried for about 2 months and finally said, Balu, this is a wonderful drink. Now I can able to sleep without sleeping tablet. And my constipation problem has gone. This is the YouTube, you can go and see what he is telling. So with all so much of advantages, what we are facing problem, we are not able to sell in the local market. So I request Ajit to put a word to the government. Please ask the government to declare. I have met the chief minister, I have met the industry minister, agri minister, and day before yesterday I met the industrial commissioner also, I have represented. The thing is, it has to be announced as a government authorized drink. In all the government functions, first, the government should introduce. Then naturally other people will take it. Another thing about the quality. So many people will say how you are ensuring quality. Bob has described so many things about the quality. Because I'm an industrialist, worked in heat exchangers, were high critical equipment manufacturer. I know what is quality, and with my experience, I can able to get FSSC 22,000 quality certificate. It is an internationally certified food safety certificate by TUV NOD. So I got the certificate first, then only I have started production. So last 1.5 years, almost 18 months over, we have assured a shelf life of 12 months, and not only that, not even a single complaint from any customer about the quality. That is a big part of this. So we have, somebody asked me, when you are sending to USA, when it goes in the container in the ship, a lot of temperature variation will be there. So what you will do, how your drink will perform? I said, no problem. I will stimulate the same condition in the laboratory, and I will get a stability certificate. So Eurofin laboratory in Bangalore, I have given the sample, they have checked, stimulated the same condition, and they have certified it which suits all the tests. No problem. Similarly, self-life certificate. We are giving 12 months self-life, and that certificate also we got it. And somebody will say, there will be a small problem because this is nothing but, if it's permanent, it becomes tardy. But when they have checked, then again I went to Halal India, so I got the Halal certificate that it doesn't contain any alcohol. So we got all these certificates, then only we have attempted to export to US market. Just a couple of days back only our container reached the Florida port, and it has been reached our warehouse. I think probably from next week it will go into the stores. So that is a success story of our drink. And any doubt, our plant is in Palladam, Tirupur district. Anybody is interested, you are more invited to visit our facility and see with your own eyes how we are doing it. So he is one gentleman from US military man, he came, he himself climbed the tree and checked whether things are all right or not. So finally he agreed. So he is living in Florida. So he came for some other purpose. After hearing about us, he wanted to come to our farm, verified everything, then after satisfying everything, then he recommended to the customer. So thank you once again for the opportunity IACC has given to introduce our drink, and we are very happy to support anybody else who want to take up our drink for distribution or to export. Thank you very much.
That's a great story, Mr. Balasubramaniam, and let us all once again applaud him for doing this great project. It's a service project. He's not doing it for profit. He's doing it for the benefit of many, many farmers. So I think we have had a good session. We have discussed about several areas, starting from imports into US, the government subsidies, organic farming, and we also had a case study about Co-Connector, how they developed the product, and they're exporting to US successfully. I'm very sorry, actually, we had to have a few discussions, but I think we are running pretty much out of time. But we'll definitely take some questions. I'm sure there is a very eminent panel of speakers here, and I'm sure if you have questions, we will be happy to take the questions. Thank you.
Thank you for the session. I'm Hari from Solik Advisors. So a lot of innovative food products like mock meat, it's coming up in the West. It's expected to be around 35 billion USD by 2027, I believe. How can India contribute in the R&D and development, manufacturing of such products? Thank you.
Yeah, mock meat. Yeah, we have had quite a few inquiries about it. In fact, many companies in India, because most of these are soya-based, and India is one of the largest producers of soya in the world. So I think the raw material is available, and we have the knowledge. I think a lot of people have, been abroad, worked in these industries. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to take advantage of. And India has the world's largest vegetarian population. So the market also exists in India. So the raw material is there, the technical expertise is there, and the market is there. I think it's only a matter of time. A lot of people will take advantage of this and come into the market.
I think the other area that, having worked extensively in Kerala, is in green jack. So there's a huge potential in this business that we're talking about. And again, these are standards, saying that from a Tamil Nadu point of view, we need to work with you and we evolve those standards so that it is actually possible for you, or your organizations to export.
There are certain entrepreneurs who are into these projects, plant-based proteins, and there's an association for that. The manufacturer, it's based in Delhi. And you can contact them. It's an upcoming area, and it's a lot of potential because nowadays gluten-free and all this health consciousness has come. So yeah, mostly it is we have a good potential for export of plant-based meat.
Good evening, myself Banu Prakash from Bangalore. I have 2-3 small questions. What is the maximum room temperature it can sustain without getting spoiled? And the pricing, and also I have visited your stall. They are saying it is having less glycemic index, so that even diabetic people also can have. And any other added health benefits, if you can tell, so that I can plan for the distribution and see how it can be beneficial for both. Thank you.
This can be stored in a normal ambient temperature. Nothing will happen. In the ambient temperature, we give a shelf life of 12 months. This is number one. Number two, the maximum temperature we have tested up to 50 degrees. Nothing has happened. So we got the certificate also. After those certificate only, we have attempted to export to USA. And before drinking, if you chill and drink, it will taste better. That is one thing. And regarding the glycemic index, the white sugar is having the 85 is the glycemic index, whereas our Nira is having 35 as a glycemic index. Then you can imagine the amount of sugar it will transfer to the bloodstream. It is a very slow, and it will not spike your blood sugar at all. Even a mild diabetic people can also take this. That's what doctors advise.
Thank you, panelists. It's very informative, and thank you, Mr. Bob, especially for coming here and helping us understand what is required to export food to US. I have 2 questions. The first question is to Mr. Rajat. So any kind of agro-based industry takes about 12 to 18 months to establish, and it requires a substantial investment. So I'd like to understand, for example, even from the investment, it's almost like setting up a factory, which means that you will be spending quite some time just, bringing up your buildings, to code, your equipment, so on and so forth. Both initial investment and working capital is a big issue. So would like to understand what the government is doing. The second question I have is to Mr. Bob. Whenever as an exporter, or at least a wannabe exporter, when we look at the different countries, each country has such, I would say, varied requirements of documentation, is there any hope or is there any initiative, at least across, let's say, US, Europe, and Australia, for that matter, to standardize some of these requirements so that, let's say, we qualify for one, it is good enough to qualify for others?
So in terms of subsidy, I almost started my discussion saying that moving away from subsidy to helping you become profitable. I personally know how, having been an entrepreneur myself on the ground in Kodaikanal, Palni and those areas, I know how difficult it is to start an agri-business. What the government currently has, and especially in the agri corridor, we are going, correct me if I'm wrong, Jadesh, there's an 80% subsidy on primary processing centers, 50% subsidy on MSMEs in plant and machinery. What we are encouraging and the way forward is that we would like to, entrepreneurs to create a bankable report, that it is banked, the bank commercial financing is willing to come in and participate. We would override it with the subsidies that will come into it. We are strongly recommending interest subvention to come in, but the basic business metrics that are required, we realize that this industry, especially with the vagaries of nature, takes time to establish. And therefore, how do we support the entrepreneur with actual subsidies around it? In fact, tomorrow morning I'm meeting, Cody Cheese. Some of you have eaten Cody Cheese, the promoter of Cody Cheese. He's making aging cheeses. And when you're aging cheese, he requires almost 10 crores of cheese in stock that has to be aged. So how do we, together with the bank, together with solutions that the Tamil Nadu government can provide, and we've been actually very, very innovative. We've sort of shamelessly leveraged as much money from the central government to support our banks to lend, and we are protecting our banks to, in the event that something happens to our MSMEs, we are protecting the bank. So you'd actually see an entire change in climate in terms of financing from banks. We will establish a couple of lead banks to work with entrepreneurs. Please be in touch with us and our team. It's a work in progress. Be patient. We will take it through.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, just very quickly, a recap. Is there an effort to have documents that everybody will recognize? And the answer is no. It's because the U.S. doesn't care what the EU accepts and vice versa and all that. However, the FDA was very clear when it came out with FSMA that it doesn't say this, and it must look like this. So there's flexibility built into it. So if you as a supplier here have documents that's more, say, EU-centric, but you think it meets, and you can justify that it meets U.S. regulations, then that's your justification, and that's what you would say. And if I'm importing from you, I have to make that same judgment. And so the chances are most, if not all, would be acceptable, but I may need you to give me a little something extra or change something here or there. But there's no formal movement, but it's sort of happening because the governments are kind of realizing that it's a smaller world. People are shipping all over. So they say no, but they're trying to give some flexibility.
Yeah, so something at the World Trade Agreement, World Trade Organization at the WTO level to come up with, like, let's say, standards for food import would be really helpful, so that we can certify once and then good to go. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Setu Arumugam. Among many hats I wear, I am asking this question as a farmer and an organic farming entrepreneur. One to Dr. Gauri and one to Mr. Ajit. So we'll talk from a government support perspective. As a farmer, there's a lot of schemes that are going on. I think one missing piece I see, having gone through these experiences, I grew traditional rices. So Karupukoni was very famous a few years back. So when I started and got on the bandwagon for all the health reasons, the price was around 500 rupees per kg, right? By the time I gone through the process of actually implementing and harvesting it, it had dropped to 150 rupees or 180 rupees. That's because everybody had the same idea like me, and I think a lot of people sow the crop and harvest it. So the larger picture here is if you're going to make this a profitable endeavor, there is something needs to happen in terms of market intelligence. What is the supply? What is the demand? How are we going to match it? That's at a very macro level, right? Across India, across the globe, supporting the farmers in Tamil Nadu, or whichever state chooses to do so. That's part one. Part two is going to be, after you do this, within this, here are the districts that are most conducive to produce this product, right? That kind of intelligence needs to happen. That's because then you can actually get, from a nutrition, soil condition standpoint, nutrition standpoint, who are the people that are more apt to grow this variety of product. That way, you are giving the best outcome or the best produce to the rest of the country and rest of the world, right? So I implore you from the position where you sit to consider this. And I have a question for Dr. Gauri. Perhaps you can respond first, yeah.
Yeah. So where are you based?
I'm basically based both out of Chennai and the US.
No,
so
but your
my farm. It's in Kanchipuram district, 100 kilometers from here.
Okay.
And we have a spice farm in Kerala and one in Kodaikanal, so I'm very familiar there
so
too.
Good. So yes, so I use the phrase protocol-based sustainable agriculture. So, biodynamic agriculture, which I started, which I trained many certifying agents, is perhaps the most stringent of certification. We are moving, and this is not a related topic, but I believe that with today's technology, that we can drive traceability and the participative guarantee scheme program, where we can achieve the same levels of standards of a third-party certification. There aren't enough certifiers. The market is growing, and the bloody certifier is becoming so expensive, it's not easy to get people to do it. We in Kodaikanal, we still train certifiers. So that's aside from the discussion. We are working specifically on paddy. And there is an organization called AFTC, Agro Food Trade Center in Madurai. I was a little despondent when I went into these for almost 4 months till I found the AFTC. Now, AFTC can store around 20,000 metric tons of paddy. They work with Akshay Ponni. There is a model by which I totally agree with you. When we say the 3 levels, there is something that the farmer can do, the FPO can do, people like you can do. The processing, the aging you need, where the value just sort of doubles. But how do I keep the benefit of it doesn't go to the miller but to you? There is a stability of price that happens between paddy and when it is milled and it is rice. And then when it is packaged, it's still more stable. What happens with when you're dealing at a commodity level, even if it's an organic thing, you're subject to the vagaries of the fluctuations in the market demand and supply. What we are trying to do in what we call the platform cooperative ecosystem is to help the farmer. He gets paid for it through banking finance, but he participates further up the value chain where the product is a lot more stable, the price is a lot more stable. Move from a commodity, the perfect competition, to somewhere where the market prices don't fluctuate. Today, the benefits of it all is taken not by you, but by the miller. How do we actually bring it to you is the focus of what we are trying to work with.
Just to build on it, what I'm also suggesting is to have, Karnataka has started doing something like that, is to have a market intelligence system.
Absolutely.
Before even you sow it, you should be able to go to a portal. With all the scientific and mathematical minds we have, we should have modeling systems to say, this is what I'm trying to do, here is the distribution we can have. And that is not very expensive, but it can be taken only by a larger agency, right? Like a government agency with a lot of funding that can connected.
So yeah, I've worked very closely with Israel, right. And I'm talking about almost 15 years ago, where that intelligence of an advisory from the government, this is what the market is going to look like. Don't grow, you can take your data from the amount of seed that's going into the market. You can be very predictive and advise farmers not to do it. In Kodaikanal,
And incentivize, de-incentivize, and do all kinds of things to make sure they
exactly.
don't follow the herd mentality, right? So
Yes, and how do you move it from commodity into a product
premium,
that is value?
yeah.
Not premium. I think this premium prices that we are looking for organics is not necessary. As long as we can just move it from commodity to packed produce. One of the things that we are working on this agri corridor is that we are not going the mandi route. We are saying that how do we move this product into, today there's an exploding market where data is available, online sales. Today it's the brick and mortar and online markets are beginning to grow quite significantly. So how do we pilot our products here where this intelligence, as you're saying, is available, where we can actually show, predictive agriculture is what we're working
predictive
with.
analytics in agriculture.
Yeah, and we are not just talking about the supply chain, but even in production of the produce, we are doing some really amazing work in terms of with TNAU and this thing where any crop you can be almost assured of what it is getting produced. University like a TNAU is, it's a hidden jewel. I mean, we need to get information out of it, as you're saying, and make it available to public, and that's what we
I see this across all. You take plantains, like bananas, right? So everybody does the same thing, and then the prices crash. And you have to wait for 9 months, and they lose their investments.
Yeah.
So thank you, and it's an interesting discussion. Dr. Gauri, as an organic farmer and trying to get certified, there are issues, we talked offline. With the US particularly, Bob, you can take it to the policy forums in the US. By decertifying so many agencies here, you have created a super agencies with the certifying bodies. And I think that is not acceptable, right? For any country to have certifying bodies have that kind of authority. I tell you, because when we actually try to apply and provide inputs into export-oriented units, and they have taken their own time, 45 to 50 days for doing regular certifications. So now with APIDA out of the picture, Government of India is not involved, the state governments are not involved, so you cannot create these kind of superstructures. I mean, no disrespect to the certifying bodies, but as people of any country, the government should have some amount of standard operating procedures. We went through this process for 45 days, right? So Dr. Gari, what are the things we can do? SOP is one thing to say, it doesn't, I'm also in the education sector. You could run a CBSE school or an international school. If you're operating in the state of Tamil Nadu, you have to follow certain guidelines. Same thing, you could be working for European Union or the United States, right? But you have to follow certain times to protect the consumer interest. In this case, a farmer who is paying the money to get the certification. You have to do certain things in a certain format and a certain time frame. Those processes need to be established. So who needs to do it? Who is working on it? What is the answer to these problems? Thank you.
The certification perspective, they have to follow both the requirements of their the country of where they are operating, as well as to comply to the requirements of the importing country. So it is a difficult task, I would rather say, but at the same time, the SOPs are required to be standardized by the importing country, what they have to do, including the timelines, and what are the things to take it forward for NOP certification. That is not there presently. So NPOP is the law of the land, so they have to follow that. But why the CBs are taking a longer time? Because they don't want to certify it further. They want to go back again and certify as per the NOP requirement. That is not required. NOP says for the export of to US, these are the things one has to follow, and there's an understanding also between the Indian accreditor and the US accreditor that they have to follow NPOP, they have to follow the traceability. After that, it will be taken over by the certification body who will certify for NOP. But this is not happening. The certification bodies are not clear, maybe non-intentionally or intentionally. They certify from the back, which takes a longer time. And such a traffic is there for US exports. So things are getting delayed. and the chain is getting affected. So there should be a dialogue between the two, either by the trading partners or by the importer association, exporter association, how to deal it, what are their requirements, apart from what is also existing in our system as per the country's regulation.
Thank you. Bob, real quickly, one comment is, US is promoting so much on DEI, biodiversity, inclusion, all that, right? And then one side we have that, and we have this fair trade certification. But I can tell you from experience, talking to hundreds of farmers, the small farmers are the ones that are getting heavily impacted by the certification, CBs and everything. So contrary to what is being preached as something really that needs to happen, this is a social angle, right? It is not about, yes, we all care for product safety, food and herbicides and all those things. Nobody is going to take that away from the table because I want to be healthy, I want my kids to be healthy. So the argument is not that. But how do you make it equitable? And in this process, it has become not about the product, it's about the papers, right? Papers just pushed across the countries. So somewhere we need to find a balance between these two and end up making sure that farmers are not getting negatively impacted, right? So we need to take this issue both in the Indian side and the United States side. So we have some answers to this in the coming days or years.
If I could just a quick response. Many of you would have heard of Araku coffee. So I've been involved with Araku coffee for the last 20 years. Building it out. So we started something called Urban Farms with Nandi, and we started in Delhi and it's going across. We have moved away from getting it certified organically. Our practices are totally organic, but the traceability is getting established. The customer is comfortable with not having this third-party organic certification. We are not even calling it organic certification, but it is actually to address this issue that we are currently having with inspectors, etc. If something like Araku coffee can actually move and the urban farms can move into this model, we would have to start exploring it.
And just to end, Mr. Ajit, this is exactly what we are doing. We said create trusted networks, so the customers believe where the product is coming from. So that's what we are focusing on instead of spending so much money on certifications, not. Because that is the answer, and combine that with blockchain and other technologies, you can actually get there.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, we have completely run out of time, and one of our guests has to catch a flight in the evening, so Bob has to catch a plane today night. So it's been a wonderful session with excellent presentation and discussions. I'm sure our guests will be there for some more time. So if you want offline, you can ask them questions. They have also shared their contact details. So please feel free to write to them and use their good offices to resolve all the problems. I'm sure food processing, agro and food processing is the future. I think there's a lot of scope for it. There will be some ups and downs, but end of the day, I'm very sure that is a growing sector. Thank you very much, and we'll quickly have a round of applause for all the speakers. Thank you very much. And
thank you so much, Manoj. May I ask you to also hand over the mementos to each one of our
And I noticed there's a good reason to hang around because we got Balasubramaniam's Tetra Packs in
that would be the very perfect ending, the Coconecte or Tanira for all of you to please partake as you move. Manoj, if you could just hand the memento to Mr. Bob Bao, President, Association of Food Industries, USA. Thank you, Bob, for taking so much time out. Dr. PVS Gauri, Executive Director and CEO, Association of Indian Organic Industry, New Delhi. Mr. Ajit Matai, Mr. Balasubramaniam, Managing Director, Global Coconut Farmers Producers Company Limited. Mr. Ajit Matai, Partner, Embion Consulting and Senior Advisor, FAME, Tamil Nadu. With that, we bring the session to an end. A photograph. And like mentioned, please do have a Tanira.